Okay, so now that we've got all of our effects in the session and our master channel and our record channel set up, let's take a look at the effects that I've got on my master fader. And I usually start out every mix with some sort of tape saturation and a bus compressor. Now the first plugin that I'm using is the Ampex from Universal Audio. It's a 2-track tape machine simulation. It sounds awesome. There are plenty of other tape machines out there, plugins. VTM from Slate Digital. I think there's the MXP from Waves. They're all very good, and they all add that saturation, that warmth, that little bit of harmonics in there. So I highly recommend getting your hands on something like that if you don't already have them. Now, the way I set this up is pretty simple. I just started out with essentially the default setting. The default setting is a great place to start. Turned off the noise here and just turned up the record knob until I saw the meters kind of jumping around right there, right around 0. I'm definitely listening for any kind of distortion, and you want to make sure you check the input and the output metering. Hitting the red here is good, but pegging the meters all the way to the right is bad, and you'll hear that distortion when that happens. I'm also constantly checking the clip meter on the master fader, making sure that that's not hitting red throughout the course of the mix. So let's take a listen to how that tape machine sounds. All right, this is with the tape machine in. And if I click this input button right here, that lets you listen to the input of the tape machine, which is essentially listen to the bypass, and then the repro is with the tape machine in. So I'm really listening for that extra little punch in the bass and a little sparkle on the highs when the tape machine is active. So when we pull it out, it loses something. When we put it back in, that something is back. So I definitely urge you to play with these. Throw them on a drum bus, throw them on a guitar bus. If you need that extra, that push and that punch on a single instrument, or even, like a group of instruments. The tape saturation plugins have gotten really good in the past few years, and they're a lot of fun to play with. Now, I do want to reiterate that the parameters you see here, or the settings that you see on this plugin and a lot of the other plugins, they're not settings that I just opened them up and went and ended up at those settings. I'm constantly making small changes to the settings on all the plugins. Everything you do affects just about everything else. So there were plenty of times during the course of mixing the song where I pushed up something in the mix and I heard a little bit of distortion, had to come back over here and pull things back just a little bit. Or the opposite. I lost a little bit of punch because I pulled some things down in the mix and had to come back over here and push up the reproduce head to gain a little bit of that punch back. With that said, let's take a look at the next plugin here on the master fader. So I've put on the Slate Digital Virtual Bus Compressor. This thing is awesome sounding. It can add punch. It helps glue the track together, helps solidify the low end. It's really just a great overall compressor. Now it comes with 3 different compressor types. The top one, the gray, is basically an SSL. The middle one is the red, which is a Focusrite. And my favorite, the Moo, which is modeled off a Fairchild or a Manley Varimoo. Now, I've used the Manly Verimu, the actual hardware version, and it is just a beautiful piece of gear. From the moment you put it into your signal path, you notice that your mix just kind of opens up. And Slate Digital has done a really good job reproducing that. So I started this mix out with just the Verimu on the mix. And about 90% of the way into it, I came back and I thought, you know what, how would it sound? I'm just going to try the Focusrite. So I pulled out the Mu and put the Focusrite in, and I lost a lot of clarity, but I gained this fullness and tightness in the bottom end of the mix. So the great thing about this plugin is you can mix and match the different compressor styles. So I just pulled or pushed up the threshold to get no compression from the Verimu, but still got that nice sound from the top end. So let's take a quick listen. So this is with both compressors in. I'm going to pull out the Mu here and take a listen to the cymbals and the guitars. Now you hear how you just lost a lot of clarity in the guitars and a lot of ring and sheen in the cymbals. When I put it back in, you can hear the detail of the guitars come back in and the nice shininess of the cymbals. So I find if I add the Verimu in at the beginning of a mix, it feels like I have to work a little less hard to get that mix sounding good. And if I add this in at the end of the mix, it feels like my mixes come out a little too bright, or certain elements in my mix come out a little too bright because I may have mixed them, just right. And I put this on and then they're, clawing your face off. Next, I want to touch on a question that I think just about everybody has. How hard should you be hitting the meters on your bus compressor? Well, if you put the bus compressor on early on in the mix like I do, I like to hit it right around 3 dB. Depends on the music, of course. It might be kissing 4 dB of gain reduction here and there, but generally speaking, hovering between 2 and 3 seems to give me that punch and that pop without giving it the squash. I know if I do a mix and then throw on a compressor afterwards, my mixes usually feel very squashed. So I find that putting the compressor on early and getting, between 2 and 4 decibels of gain reduction on the bus rather than compressing heavily on each instrument feels like it gives a bit more natural volume control of the different elements in the mix, rather than having everyone squished and up front. When the compressor squishes the loud instrument, it also turns some of the quiet instruments down, helping the track breathe a little bit. Okay, next let's talk about some of the plugins that I have on my output fader, which is essentially just a master fader within Pro Tools. I put an analyzer plugin on my master fader. Just helps me when I solo an instrument, I can see what frequency it has going on. I may not be able to pick them out with my ear, but the analyzer can kind of help dial in some problem frequencies for us. It also shows me if there's any noise or low frequency hum or rumble or anything like that I might have going on in my mix that I can't hear or don't realize is there. And especially if you're working at home on a laptop or something like that, an analyzer is going to help you see all those low frequencies that your laptop is not able to reproduce. So I definitely recommend picking up one of these if you don't already have one. I'm sure there's some free ones out there. I know Waves has their Paz analyzer, which I've used extensively in the past. It's a great plugin as well. So the next video, we are going to jump in and start mixing the drums.